This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House.
I'm Rob Kornaker. I'm the head men's basketball coach at St. John Fisher, and I'm going to tell you why wins aren't always the most important thing.
And I'm John DiTullio. I'm going to tell you about a special garden party that's going on.
And I'm Mike Catalana. I'll tell you why SU fans might need a little patience.
I'm Bill Pucko. We salute the final Wendy's Classic. Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box, brought to you by the mighty Genesee Brew House. I'm Bill Pucko, joined by John DiTullio.
Billy, thanks.
Mike
Great to see
Catalana.
you.
Good to be back.
And it's our pleasure to welcome in for the first time Rob Kornaker, for the last 15 years, the highly successful basketball coach at St. John Fisher College and a member of the Gates Chili Sports Hall of Fame.
Thanks very much.
I knew you wanted that mention.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You guys, NCAA tournament last year, you got another powerhouse team this year. You'll be entering this week the final Wendy's Classic. What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, it's a little tough. The tournament's been around for 50 years, and Fisher's been a part of it for quite a long time. And it's obviously growing up in Rochester and everything. The media having such a great part of it that I think it's going to be a little bittersweet, this being the last one. I'm excited that it's 50 years and we've been around that long, but obviously with it ending, it's going to be a little bittersweet.
Now, it's not necessarily, as you were saying, off camera earlier, that this might not be like the end of the end, sort of.
Yeah, it might be the end for what we, existing have, but I think we're going to try and put something together where maybe, I think we're going to try and put something together. The athletic directors and the powers that be are talking about putting something together with maybe more of the local Rochester area teams getting a chance to compete still and still keeping some of that tradition alive.
Yeah. I always remember there was the one time where, the local media, especially the TV stations, paid attention to our Division III schools.
Well, everybody's together, and you get them all at the same time. I grew up near Philly, and I grew up with the Big Five. And that was this big tradition. They played every game then at the Palestra in Philly. It's all those schools. And then as it started to get bigger and bigger, schools in their own conferences, harder to schedule games. Did they want to play all the games there? And the shame of it was it eventually broke up. And then they tried to get it back together. They play certain games. But the world of college basketball has changed. There's a lot of factors that go into it. You lose some of the tradition. But I think, to Rob's point, if they can bring some of that back, and we still have great rivalries among some of the local teams, but to have it all in one thing, I think may be tough to continue to do.
It's a showcase for all the local schools, a lot of great talent, that local talent, kind of bragging rights. So I hope, to piggyback what Rob just said, I hope it does stay in some capacity, because I think it's great for the area.
What are the obstacles?
Well, I think the obstacles are really that there's a lot of teams that aren't playing home games. And as a coach, I can definitely see the point in that. I mean, it's hard enough. We've won 3 tournaments since I've been there, and Coach Ward won a few before that. But it's really difficult to win games against good teams. And now when you're talking about playing those games on the road, it's even harder. So some of the schools that are on the outskirts, SUNY Geneseo and SUNY Brockport, they're not hosting a lot of games, and neither is Hobart. So it just becomes a little bit problematic, like you said. And now you got pressure we have the same kind of pressure, albeit on a smaller scale, for league play to start. The SUNYs there's 18 league games, and they want to start those games in December. So I think it just became a little bit difficult and problematic for them.
I think I'd be remiss, if we would left the segment without saying a little something about your team this year. What do you got?
You know what? I'm cautiously optimistic, like I am every other year. We have a couple really good players back. We have 2 senior guards that are really good, and we have a big kid that is very talented. We're going to be a little younger than we have been in years past, and last year we had a great year, but we had 6 seniors, and you win with seniors. At least we have at our level. We don't have the one and done, so we're winning with guys that have been around 3 or 4 years. We're going to have to rely on some younger guys, which will be a little bit unique, but fun. nonetheless.
Very good. Maybe pick up the classic title on the way out.
I'll tell you one quick thing. When we go, when our guys go for highlights, they like going to the Fisher games. They go, we go, quick highlights, and when we got to go. You can shoot. They're an entertaining game. That's been good to go.
Very good. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box brought to you by the mighty Genesee Brew House. We're going to talk NFL next. The Hillside family of agencies works with youth and families on their own terms, helping them pursue their own goals, whether at home, work, school, or one of the Hillside campuses, offering encouragement and commitment, standing with families, helping to create a healthy future. The Buffalo Bills Quote of the Week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico Office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. Our Quote of the Week brought to you by Geico Rochester. Bakari Rambo, what do you think?
Been a difference maker, right? I mean, I was reading the Washington papers after the Jets game where he didn't make a tackle, couldn't force a turnover. He under Rex Ryan, and even when he came in late last year with Aaron Williams sidelined, he has been a difference maker in that back end. You kind of trust the kid.
Late last year, who did he make the couple?
Mike, it's a couple shots today already. It's against
Aaron Rodgers. He had the 2 picks against Rodgers.
To me, he's been one of the pleasant surprises in that, because I think there's a couple guys who've had bad years, but Rambo's had a great year for them.
Our Quote of the Week brought to you by Geico Rochester. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, is brought to you by our friends at the Hillside family of agencies. The NFL, look, the buys are done. We're in the home stretch. As we have the finish line in sight, what do you see happening, Mike?
Well, this is definitely the haves and the have-nots this year. I think it's a bad product. I think there's a lot of mediocre teams, but there's a few teams I really like watching. And as we're talking about this, I mean, I like watching the Cardinals play. I like the way he coaches. I like watching the Vikings play. I think they're tough. I like watching the Panthers play, and of course the Patriots, just the way they play, obviously. So I think that middle ground of mediocrity, it takes me back to the 70s when we had the few great teams and most of the other teams were either average or bad. I think that's the kind of year we have. But I do think there's quality in the league, and I think there's a few teams that are that way, but I think it's a few and far between.
Why does that happen? I mean, there's not a shortage of football players.
Here's I have a theory. I have a lot of theories. This is my theory on it. The off-season programs without the work, I think it's killed the offensive lines. I think it's hurt teams. I think the non-contact, while it helps with safety and maybe that repetition, it has hurt teams have that flow. Plus, we've had some quarterback injuries this year. Good quarterbacks and great quarterbacks all get nicked up. It's a combination of things. I think the game needs to change a little bit. I'd love to see the game go back. John talked last week about simplifying the rules. I'd like to see it go back where the running game is more and more important. I think teams would get into a flow better. I think there'd be less penalties, less of that. But I think the way the offseason is, the lack of hitting, teams are even letting guys sit out so many practices during the week that you never used to see. Maintenance days, rest days. I think it's hurt the product. And I don't think that's changing until they change some of the things.
It's really hurt the offensive lines. It really has. There's no doubt about it. When you look at the whole landscape, New England's a team to beat in the AFC, but Pittsburgh's a team that I'd keep my eye on. I don't fear the Broncos, even though their defense with Manning. Cincinnati has yet to win in January. The team in the AFC that would worry me if I'm Bill Belichick would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because their defense, I think, has been playing well, and with Roethlisberger back healthy, they're dangerous. In the NFC, I almost want to fast forward to Arizona, Carolina. With Mike, I think the Vikings are legitimate. I don't know if Bridgewater is ready to take that next step, but they got Adrian Peterson. And if Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, right now they're the wild card in that NFC, you don't know if they're even going to make the playoffs. So if Tony Romo was healthy, I think the Cowboys, rather than being 2-7, would be 7-2.
There's always a new team to jump into it. The Vikings are fun to watch. Rob, do you have time to watch?
Yeah, I have. Sundays are great. Usually we have Sundays off, but I'm going to piggyback on what John said. I just think in the NFL, it's going to come down to who's playing the best defense at the end of the year. it's hard for me to root against my Bills, but if they get it figured out defensively, they can be pretty scary.
Then quickly, let's see, Bills in or out, and give me a Super Bowl winner.
I'm going with the Bills being in because I think their defense is going to keep picking up, and unfortunately, it's going to be really hard for me to root against, or it's going to be hard for me. It's going to be easy for me to root against the Patriots, but it's going to be hard for me not to pick them.
Mike?
I picked him out close, but out at the beginning of the year, so I'll stick with that. It depends on what's going on these last couple of weeks. I'll stick with that. I think it's going to be close.
I'm going to say they're in, and I like the Cardinals. John, what do you like?
I like the Cardinals, too. I like the Cardinals. I think defensively they've always been good, but now they've got 3 of the best wide receivers assembled. And if Carson Palmer stays healthy, I'll take Arizona and Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl rematch from a few years ago.
Here's an updated look at our standings in the Hillside NFL Picks Contest. Mike Catalana maintains his lead. The winner here will have $1,000 donated by Classy Wolf Media to the Hillside family of agencies in his name. This week's Hillside family of agencies NFL Picks, made by Lamont Williams, the Regional Executive Director of the Hillside Works Scholarship Connection in Buffalo, and the kids and staff from that same program. They take Buffalo with the points beating Kansas City on the road, and in their backup NFL game, they like Cincinnati, giving up 9 points at home versus the Rams. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, has been brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. Like it or not, when we return. As we go to break, it is time for the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Is called Turnbull at 343-2005. As we come back from the break, time for the answer to the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Just call 343-2005. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko here with you. This portion of the Press Box is brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Like it or not, John, this came up a couple weeks ago with Cam Newton, especially touchdown celebrations.
Listen, high school and college, I hate it. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You can do what you want within reason. I don't like choreographed stuff. Remember Joe Horn? Whoever grabbed the phone? There is to grab the phone in the goalpost. When you're getting paid millions of dollars, knock yourself out. It's professional. High school and college, I've got a major issue with it. If I was watching a Fisher game, football, and I saw the kids do it, I would have an issue with it. That sounds hypocritical, but maybe it is. NFL, I don't have a problem with it. Dance away. I grew up with Elmo Wright and Billy White shoes, everybody dancing, Antonio Brown doing a backflip. I love it. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic.
Coach, you ever had a guy you had to tell to cool it?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think at our level especially, I think sportsmanship and those kinds of things are really, really big. I agree with John. And, I've definitely done that. But how do you do that without
stifling?
Exactly. And I'd much rather coach someone who I've got to calm down than someone I've got to pick up all the time.
Yeah, I think there's a difference, too, between celebrating and taunting the opponent.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's good. If it's not directed at another player, which I think, sometimes it's a bit much, it is interesting. And I stuck up for Cam Newton last week on this show, but it is interesting that some of his celebrating seems to bother some of the other players more than it does. And I think if that happens, well, guess what? Then I would say, then stop him from scoring a touchdown, right? If it upsets you that much, stop him from scoring a touchdown.
Well, I think the NFL, what's the best celebration? The Lambeau Leap.
Yeah.
Right?
It's great.
Incorporate the fans in there. I mean, that's exciting.
Nobody has a problem with that.
Nope.
I don't think.
I think you do.
I don't think they're scoring enough. I think that's the problem.
I think you got an issue with it.
I didn't see, there wasn't a lot of leaping going on.
Not a whole lot.
Mike, you just lost to Miami.
My team's horrible.
Stop.
My team is horrible. The Eagles were terrible.
Hey, Nick Foles can come back.
Rob, like it or not, this has been on the table for, I don't know, they say the better part of however long high school sports has been around. The private and the public school debate, where do you fall on this?
You know, I fall in. It's been this way for such a long time. I mean, the private schools have become successful. But I sent my kids to Aquinas. I sent my son to Aquinas because of the education, to teach him some morals and values, maybe that I saw declining at some of the public schools. So I'm all for them being in Section 5. We have a transfer rule right now that if you don't transfer in your freshman year, you have to sit out a year. What I'd like to say is if we're going to do that, how about we do that from public to public? You know, if you're transferring from Pittsford Mendon over to Brighton High School, you know, we don't have that rule. So I think there's some disadvantages, obviously, to kicking them out. I mean, Aquinas has won 10 sectional titles. They're on a roll for state championships. You know, that's exciting. That puts Rochester on the map. They're in the USA Today rankings.
Yeah, but if you had a public school team that got steamrolled any one of those 10 years by Aquinas, aren't you a little sensitive about that?
Yeah, probably. You know, we lost to Aquinas when I was in high school, too, and Cardinal Mooney back in the day when Cardinal Mooney was around. You know, I had a lot of friends that left Gates and went to play at Cardinal Mooney. It's tough, but, you know, it's been a part of our fabric for quite a long time. I just don't see a reason to change it.
John made this point before. Coaches, the programs recruit the kids, right? If they weren't good at Aquinas, no kid is transferring at the moment to McQuaid to play football. And they have the same, quote, advantages geographically. So that's the thing is, because what they've built at Aquinas. We also did a story on Pittsford swimming this week, and the girls have won 13 straight sectional championships. Marty's done an amazing job there. Yeah. If you're a swimmer and you're in Pittsford, you're going to swim at Pittsford because it's the program, too.
And the big thing we put a stop to is nobody's able to transfer to Aquinas or McQuaid volleyball when they start their senior year. Oh, they're going to win a state title. I'm going to go make them a little bit stronger. That's not happening anymore, and I think that might have been problematic back in the day. If you've got a junior who transfers in, hey, Jake Zembeck just graduated. I'm a pretty good quarterback. Maybe it's time for me to, like, you can't do that. You have to do that when you're in 8th grade in your 9th grade year. So development's a big part of it.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box was brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished Business is next. The Rochester Press Box Stat of the Week, brought to you by Cariglio's Pizza, with 5 locations serving the Rochester area. Visit carigliospizza.com today. Introducing Dunkin's new sweet black pepper bacon sandwich with double the slices of caramelized crispy pepper bacon. It is the bacon experience you've been waiting for. Bacon up! America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion of the Press Box brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Unfinished business. Johnny.
Now, I've always believed you can never be bad and boring. It's okay to be bad, but you know what? Be entertaining. As a lifelong Knicks fan,
I knew it was coming.
As a lifelong Knicks fan, I've been a homer. There's no doubt about it. But the Knicks last year didn't win their 6th game until January 19th. At the time of this taping, they are 6-6. Phil Jackson has proven everyone wrong that Porzingis can actually play. In fact, I can say he's the best player on this Knicks team. I don't know if the Knicks are going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to win 35, 40 games. But you know what? They're going to be entertaining, and they're going to be fun to watch, and I think they are plotting a course, although it's going to take some time for them to be actually relevant in a few years in the NBA. But as a lifelong Knicks fan, let me congratulate Phil Jackson on a job at least well done for 1 year.
Yeah, for 12 games out of 1 year.
Wow.
It's early.
That came from him, not me, just
John,
so you know.
it's early.
Rob, I like this, Rob.
It's early.
As somebody, and Rob inspired, with his presence here, he inspired me for that take, because I think Rob's a big fan of Porzingis.
Yeah, drive for 500, Rob.
You know, sports is such a huge part of the fabric of our society that we're judged as coaches on wins and losses. And this past weekend, I got reminded of what really is important. coached a game against someone who has a pretty serious medical condition. And as I looked over and saw his wife and his family and his 2 young children across the gym, I got reminded what is really important. It's about teaching our young people what's right and what's wrong, and it's about being a good dad, and it's about being a good person. And it took me a long time coaching to realize that. And my heart goes out to this person, and I wish him all the best. Thanks.
The athletic fields are a great place to teach and learn that stuff too, I think.
Thanks, Rob.
Something's coming up pretty soon, and I want people to try to keep a little perspective when it happens. Jim Boeheim's a Hall of Famer, great coach. He's won national championship, and he's had all that success. But he has his suspension coming up, and Mike Hopkins is finally going to get his chance. Yeah, he's filled in a little bit at times, but this is where he's going to get his chance. He's going to get 9 games, and I'm going to find it fascinating to see how you, the fans, respond to this. I don't think this is a great Syracuse team. They got a lot of young guys playing a lot of minutes, and they're going to play in that ACC schedule. And Mike Hopkins is going to get his shot. Now, I know a lot of people are like, big time Mike Hopkins. He's going to deserve it, and they can't wait to see him take over. My suggestion is do not overreact to whatever you see in those 9 games. Sure, there's a possibility that he has great success, and then you're even more pumped up. But I think there's maybe even a better chance that this team struggles in league play early on. Don't overreact that way. The guy has earned his right, earned his shot, and he'll eventually, whenever it's official, take over this program. Don't make too much of that 9 games because it may not benefit you or the SU program.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Johnny runs on Dunkin'. Thank you, man.
Getting a cup right after this show, buddy.
All right,
I
Mike.
had my cup. I was going to show you. Yeah, I threw it away already.
Where's
the
on
coffee?
Dunkin'.
And Rob, it's been great having you. Good luck to the start of your season. We'll see you in the Wendy's Classic.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week in the original Rochester Press Box.